Okay, this is the first day of the introduction on a lesson of how to create lines, texture, and shape that's reflective on characteristics of a person. So the end result from this brainstorm will be our work of art that is a composition about a person, completely abstract. You have a couple or a few resources. You have many practices that you've done over the past week and a half, and you have texture and patterning resources, the Zentangle, the packet. Here's the packet. They're basically all textures or patterns. You can use all of these as resources when you're creating your brainstorm about your work of art. The first step of the brainstorm is to come up with in your sketchbook a list of 7 characteristics about one person, a person that you want to create a work of art about. The next step is, which is what you guys are going to do in a minute, is to take each characteristic and use, I would say, at least a third of a page in your sketchbook, maybe a half of a page of your sketchbook, to experiment on shapes or textures or lines about each characteristic. So in the end, you will have created a symbol, texture, line that is reflective of each characteristic. Let me show you an example. As an example to the class, I used my husband, and let's say this is a page in my sketchbook, and now I have to come up with something that's representative of loving. Well, this project is going to be not representational, or not. We're not going to use symbols that we're used to seeing. We're going to invent our own. So, what's a typical symbol for love? A heart. Right, a heart. So, looks like this. We're not going to use it. So you're going to invent your own symbol, line, or texture. In this case, I'm going to invent one for loving. I'm going to create a line that's representative of loving. So, this is almost like a heart, but it's a line. I don't love it. I'm going to do another one. I like that one even better. It's just got a little, even more abstract. This feels more successful to me. So that's my loving.
Wait, is your goal to try to get it to look like a heart, kind of?
No. Your goal is to, it can be even more abstract than that, is to replicate or to invent a line or a texture not to be like it. So, you don't have to be anything like it. Like, for instance, maybe I just focus on a feeling that I feel when I am being loved. I produced that line on top of my abstracted heart, and I did it from just how I feel when I think of the term love. So it can be either way. Most important thing, and that's an excellent question, is you should not try to recreate a symbol that is easily recognizable. It should be abstract. So, for instance, let's do another one. I'm going to do crybaby. I think it's good to be positive, do a positive and negative. Okay? When I think of crybaby, I think of thorns. I'll tell you, my husband is, if he gets, you know, like, hurt by like, bitten by a mosquito, it's like, oh, time to go inside. Come on, really? So, you know, sorry about that. So he's, like, you know, pretty overly sensitive, like, physically when things go wrong. Unless he's playing softball, he comes home all, like, bruised and scratched up. Oh, yeah, that's fine, that's nothing. So it's, like, really kind of comical. So, I mean, kind of tease him all the time. I say he's a crybaby, and he's like, I know. So I think of thorns because, you know, and this is a link to me personally. I am a cactus grower, and, you know, I'd like to say I'm a professional cactus grower, but I'm not. But I'll tell you this. I did all the plants that are in the back of the room. I propagated from a seed or from a leaf. So I grew them myself, and so, I don't know, it is what it is. I make them part of my pottery. So what I'm doing is I'm taking, for Crybaby, the thorn of a cactus, and I'm going to make this other shape. Oh, I'm going to turn it upside down, I think. Now I have my thorns, and these represent tears. So it's a fine line. It doesn't really, how can I explain? I think it's far enough removed that you don't see this as a cactus and this as a tear. So for instance, where do we draw the line? If I was thinking hot, okay, hot you might represent with a sun, right? So this might or might not be a sun. Okay. If we were to abstract that even more, we could come up with more interesting ways to produce a sun. Do you see what I mean? So, like, really, that's the difference. These could be made smaller and repeated, then you have a pattern. You have interesting use of line when you make a mark and create something that's thick to thin. But for a brainstorm, like what we're going to do today, don't worry about line thickness. We'll learn more about that probably tomorrow, and varying your line and using value we'll learn about tomorrow. But for now, we're just going to do some line practice. So look at your list and write down that those characteristics, like maybe like write one on the next page or a couple on the page after, and then just brainstorm what you might do. Use your resource material because sometimes you could get stuck, right? This area, this right here, looks really prickly, you know? That could describe quite a few uncomfortable sort of characteristics. This looks softer. Somebody who likes the outdoors, this is really a series of marks that, you know, I wouldn't say, oh, that's too representational. It's really just a series of lines, but it kind of looks like grass. So this is too much like a tree. So you wouldn't want to use this whole drawing of a tree to represent one of your characteristics because it does scream tree. I want you to be inventive and come up with your own things. Okay.